So this is a little segment on scary objects. I've assembled a certain number of things. We look like an advertisement for Chewy.com. If they see this and they want to send me some free dog food, that is going to be cheerfully accepted. We have no tie-in with Chewy's except we spend way too much money there. And they send us nice big boxes, which to me are scary objects. We're going to see how she feels about this. This is the first she's seen these boxes or any boxes. She has never seen a flag, and I've got some milk jugs over here that she's not seen. She has encountered a tarp. We did one earlier episode just showing the two fillies reacting to the tarp as sort of a personality test. So I'll tell you my philosophy on scary objects. You don't flood your horse with scary objects. You don't go out of your way to introduce them over time. You get to where your horse has the beginnings of something like trust and confidence and respect for you. And you ask them to come with you. You ask them to experience this. And you say to them, you know, I've asked you to do quite a number of other things and they've all turned out okay. Now we're getting to the point where you need to begin to accept the concept that if I ask you for it, it's probably going to be okay. And my duty is to not ask them to do this until they feel like it's going to be okay, and to not do something with them that might have too high a probability of turning out badly. You can't get greedy. But with that in mind, I'm going to start just introducing her to different things. Now, we're sort of doing two for the price of one because she can see those boxes. Now, if she was to get spooked by this flag and jump on them, that would make things all the more interesting. That's her option. But she's never seen this flag. I don't necessarily do anything too exotic with it. She's certainly had some handling that would predispose her to do okay with this. And my typical routine is if I have something that might be of concern, I take it away. I let them control it. I let them scare it away from them so they don't have to scare away from it. So she's already stepping on it, which she was doing before we ever got started. That's a real good indicator. One of the things this is telling us is that while this filly's pretty sensitive and a little reactive, she basically seems to have a certain amount of good sense. Now, you'll see some folks, they'll just flood their horse with these stimuli. They'll just bring one thing on after another and just pound it at them until they just flat give up. The last thing I ever want from my horses is to have them give up. I want them to come through. I want them to accept it because I've asked for it, because they feel safe with it, because they feel like this is the way that they succeed. So this is sort of the easy test because flags are objects that move. They make a bit of noise. You can see she's more concerned about the motion and the noise than she is just about the flag being there. So I'm going to give her a minute to think about that. Up until now, she's been a little bit ignoring this flag. So maybe if I keep her a little more engaged, we'll make sure that she's not just playing possum. Because, you know, if you ever knew a possum, they seem pretty quiet, but they'll bite you in the ass. So she's actually gotten a little more aware of this. So I think she sees its potential to be a scary object. She needs to be aware of that. Is that playing possum business? That's sort of never getting engaged, or on the other side of things, shutting down can be real problematic. So that's harder because it goes from this side over to that side. Make it harder, bring it up here. Now, we're going to be riding this filly one day. Guess who's going to be flapping and banging around up there? It might just be me. And I'd rather have her startle at this flag than at the top of my head up there. So one thing I'm going to be aware of with this little girl is she is very aware of sounds. Very aware of sounds. So I'm not going to over accentuate the sound, but I'm going to make a mental note going forward to expose her to some sound. Because the touch and feel and stuff, she's really quite good, but that worries her a little. Now, here is the popular wisdom. So you do that, and you do that, and you do that, and you do that until they get over it. I'm more inclined to be a little more forgiving. You know, I don't want her to be foolish with it. I don't want to stop when she's doing something negative. But I'm not going to be so insistent that this get perfected today. See right there, she stopped. She's thinking about it. Maybe she'd like to encounter it a little closer. So what I'm noticing is after this thing has made some noise, she wants to shut it out a little more. She's not reaching for it. She's not quite as casual about it because she sees it's got a potential. So I'm going to bear that in mind. I'm going to say that little bit is enough to show her some improvement, in her, I mean. And I'm not going to keep doing it until she gets it wrong. I'm going to get done with it while she's still getting better. I'm going to take that. Now this may startle the hell out of her. Just toss it over there like I'm done with it. And the nice thing is, she knew I was done with it. She says, good, I'm done with it too. Now, these are my go-to training tools. A recycled Shoshin jug and a couple of milk jugs. And we see what she's never seen this. Let her have a look at it because that damn sure makes noises. And it's actually more intriguing to her and maybe a little bit more troubling. See, she would be smarter to just keep it out in front of her and not let it get into a place where it might be chasing her. I also don't want it in a place where it might chase her over top of me. I'm going to shorten up on this. And that's quite all right if she wants to snuffle at it. Quite all right. She was a little troubled by it. I took it away before it got worse. Because she was doing her best. She was doing her best. So maybe what I do is I keep it in hand, and rather than having that little bit of play in it, I get a hold of a Shoshin jug and bring it up here and give her a little milk jug rub down. One of the advantages to being as big, dumb, and awkward as I am is that you get them used to big, dumb, awkward things. Now this is more challenging than you might think, because horses are more cautious of their feet than anything else. Because if their feet get tangled up, if their feet get damaged, in the old days, that's the end. So they're very jealous of the safety of their feet. So I'm loading her boat, but trying real hard not to overload it. You can see that made her aware, but she succeeded. So she's getting one win after another win. And that was an awkward move on my part, which is what I'm best at. I consider it one of my many strengths, is being big, dumb, slow, and awkward. All good things in working with young horses if you live. Now this is the right side, and you can see that she just doesn't feel quite the same about it. So I'm going to take her back to square one, and now it should be easier to drop them off this side because she's quieter on that side. And if she's going to react, it's going to be when I drag them across here, and she's doing okay. Now, could you do a whole lot more? Yeah, you could make it a lot bigger show. But see, there's a little trouble there. And she's just learning that this is going to be okay, but maybe she has a right to digest that. Come back and experience it again another time. And milk jugs will be a part of her life from time to time, I assure you that. So there's that. I'll put that in there just to make everything scarier. And here are the chewy boxes. So let's go look at them. And you know what's interesting is there's a little wrapping paper in there. Yeah. That makes a noise. That makes a noise. Yeah, that makes a noise. Now what if I had started out with this the very first thing? I think I'd have more trouble. So one of the things you have to bear in mind is to wait until they're ready and to try to be as accurate as you can be about when they are ready. Here's a little piece of stiffer stuff there, girlie. This could almost be maybe I could sell them if I ever put on a clinic. It's a training tool. A desensitization tool. Except I don't want this filly one bit desensitized. I just want her confident. I want her accepting. But I want all that natural feel still in there. Every new thing's a little easier because of the last new thing. You can't expose them to everything in the world. You shouldn't try. But if you show them enough things for a while, they learn that none of these things are going to hurt them. And then new things become an acceptable part of life. And believe it or not, there is a sort of a plan in what I'm doing, but not a big plan. So let's see what happens if we pretend that those scary boxes are a trailer. You see, we need to load her in the trailer because you're going into a tight spot and there's scary stuff on both sides. That's exactly what a trailer is. So we're working on a whole lot of things in advance here. Because one of the next things these girls are going to learn is how to get on the trailer. So we've been teaching her to go around us and to drive for us. So let's see if she can go through there without my support. There you go. I kind of like that. You can figure that out any way you want to. Yep, you can go around it, you can go over it, you can do a little bit of both like there. So we're going to make that a little harder. I don't know what will happen. Hell, half the fun is finding out what happens. There you go. That was a smart, reasonably coordinated response. There's no wrong answer except no. That's okay. Now, it would be fun to drive her over all of these boxes, to shatter them, to mash them, except that might overload her little boat. She hasn't really made a bad move. She hasn't given me a bad answer. I've tried not to ask her bad questions. And that's the essence of introducing your horse to scary things. To build their confidence, not to take away their sensitivity, not to expose them to everything in the world, but to get them to where they learn to accept new things. So there you go. Give it a try. Order a bunch of stuff from Chewy because they'll probably give me some money, and see how you do with their boxes.